America? I'm Ali Mehdaoui, and this is What's New with ME, where we serve the hottest stories, the contests, satire, and enough caffeine to keep you from doom scrolling. Tonight, we're focusing on a single seismic battle. President Trump attempts to fire Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook. It's part court drama and part constitutional crisis, and also part Netflix miniseries jazz waiting to happen. On August 28th, Lisa Cook, the first black woman ever to serve on the Fed's Board of Governors, filed a lawsuit to block her firing herself. She argues Donald Trump had no constitutional basis on the removal of her office. The very next day, August 29, Judge Gia Cobb held an emergency hearing. No ruling yet, but she ordered Cook's team to file additional briefs after Labor Day. In other words, the legal ping pong match has just begun. Cook says Trump's move wasn't about law. It was about smearing her credibility and consolidating control over the central bank. Trump's team insists otherwise, accusing Cook of misconduct and deep state loyalties. Let's cut through the noise, if you will. The Federal Reserve isn't supposed to be a political chew toy. It's the independence is what gives global markets faith in the United States dollar. If presidents can fire governors at will, then interest rates, inflation control, and banking oversight all become political bargaining chips. Legal scholars warn this case could reset the doctrine of executive power over independent agencies. Imagine a future where a Fed governor who raises interest rates before an election can be fired for bad vibes. Markets would panic faster than crypto holders in a bear run. MSNBC host says this is Trump's latest assault on independent institutions. Today, it's the Fed. Tomorrow, who's next? The Supreme Court cafeteria? Progressive economists argue Cook is a qualified academic with deep expertise, and her removal reeks of race and gender politics. From the right, conservative pundits cheer Trump's move, framing Cook as another elitist bureaucrat protecting Wall Street over Main Street. MAGA influencers call her firing a win against globalist deep state economists. From the middle, the Wall Street Journal editorial board admits Trump may be overreaching, but notes the Fed is tone deaf to working class struggles and suggesting Cook's firing could become symbolic of a bigger populist war. In X, exploded with hashtags like Cooks versus Trump or Fed independence or hashtag deep state dollar. TikTok creators are already stitching videos of Trump's speeches with monopoly money memes. Now, legal experts say this case will test the boundaries of presidential authority over independent agencies like the Fed, the FCC, and the SEC. Some warn it could end up in the Supreme Court, setting precedent for decades. Economists fear market instability. If the Fed is seen as political, foreign investors may dump treasuries, the dollar weakens, and interest rates may rise, and boom, a recession could knock on your doors just like that. Political scientists compare this to Nixon's Saturday Night Massacre during the Watergate executive power versus institutional independence. So there are multiple scenarios to consider in here. The very first one is Cook wins in court. The judge blocks Trump's firing. The Fed independence is reaffirmed. Trump claims judicial overreach and weaponizes it for a campaign rally. Trump wins in court is the second scenario where it sets precedent that presidents can remove federal governors, expect stock markets to nosedive, lawsuits from other agencies, and a constitutional crisis over checks and balances. Or a compromise. Cook technically reinstated, but marginalized within the Fed. Public trust still erodes regardless. Political fallout is another scenario. Democrats use this as exhibit A of Trump's war on institutions. Republicans spin it as Trump fighting for the people against elites. 2026 midterms could hinge on whether voters see this as corruption or correction. Think of it this way. The Fed is like America's referee. Now, nobody likes referees, but you need them to keep the game fair. Trump firing Lisa Cook mid-match is like a coach tackling the referee and saying, Don't worry about it, folks. I'll call the plays myself. Imagine Jerome Powell calling Wall Street. Don't panic, but our entire banking system is now run like a WWE storyline. So here's the big picture. This is not about Lisa Cook. It's about whether America's most powerful financial institution can be hijacked by politics, regardless to your politics. The powers allowed now will also be allowed on the other side in the future. The markets are watching. Courts are decided. The voters are judging. And if Cooks win, federal independence survives another round. If Trump wins, the era of independent agencies may be over. Either way, buckle up because the dollar bill in your wallet just got political. I'm Ali Mehdaoui. Like, share, and remember, when the Fed sneezes, the whole world catches a cold. We'll be right back.
In a world of digital noise, your brand deserves a command center. Welcome to ME Studios, where your vision doesn't just get captured, it gets amplified. This isn't just another production space. This is your complete media powerhouse. Our multi-unit facility in New Jersey is engineered for brands that refuse to be overlooked. We transform your voice into professional podcasts streaming on Spotify, Amazon Music, and beyond. Your stories become headlines across 300 plus media outlets, including Fox, ABC. Behind every viral moment is strategy. Our content creation and SEO campaigns don't just chase trends, they create them. From concept to distribution, we build the digital presence others envy. Your brand, your voice, your time to dominate. Visit the mestudios.net and turn potential into impact.
Welcome back, America. I'm Ali Mehdaoui, and this is What's New with ME, the only show where breaking news is treated like reality TV, but with a little bit more facts and fewer Kardashians. In this segment, our spotlight is on the Center of Disease Control and Prevention. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about the CDC, the agency that once told you to wash your hands and trust the science. Now, it looks more like a soap opera starring firing, resignation, and a brand new director whose medical degree is just about as real as my chances of making it into the NBA. So let's start by firing herd around public health. Dr. Susan Manares was sworn in the CDC director in July 31st. After a smooth Senate confirmation, just 30 days later, she is out, reportedly for refusing to toe political-driven, vaccine-skeptical directives that are pushed by HHS Secretary Kennedy Jr. Her legal team says she was targeted for protecting science over party lines. In other words, she would not be a yes woman for anti-vax TikTokers. Sources say she refused to fire senior scientists and block vaccine guidelines she considered essential. Imagine a hiring of a lifeguard for the CDC swimming pool, then firing them because they insisted on using floaties for the kids. That's the plot line here. Her ouster triggered chaos. 4 senior CDC officials quit within 24 hours, including leaders of major health divisions. Hundreds of staffers in Atlanta staged a walkout chanting, "Science, not politics." The resignation wave couldn't come at a worse time. With the flu season looming, lingering COVID concerns, and opioid deaths climbing, America's disease-fighting army just lost its generals. This isn't just disruption, it's institutional collapse. We're watching the CDC hollow out in real time. The left claims this is sabotage of our nation's health infrastructure. The right claims, finally, accountability. The CDC has been bloated and wrong before. This is draining the swamp of bad science. Replacing Manares, enter Jim O'Neill, a health policy investor and libertarian with close ties to tech billionaire Peter Thiel. Here's the kicker. He has zero medical training, none, not even a WebMD certification. Supporters say his outsider's perspective will bring innovation. Critics argue you wouldn't let a venture capitalist perform heart surgery, so why let one run the CDC? This is not the first time O'Neill's been controversial. He previously argued the FDA should approve drugs before testing them fully, letting the free market sort it out. Translation: survival of the fittest, but with vaccines. The backlash is so fierce that RFK Jr. has been summoned to testify before the Senate Finance Committee on September 4th. Lawmakers on both sides want answers. Senator Bernie Sanders called this war on science, public health, and truth. Senator Susan Collins said this was no basis for Manares firing. Senator Rand Paul defended the move, saying Americans deserve independent thinkers, not bureaucratic sheep. This rare bipartisan concern shows just how politically radioactive the CDC has become. So there are scenarios and consequences. If Manares is reinstated by courts, a win for science and institution independence. But politically, it will be painted as judicial activism by Trump world. If O'Neill stays in power, expect an exodus of scientists and rise in vaccine hesitancy. Programs like childhood immunization and outbreak monitoring could collapse. If Congress intervenes, funding cuts, subpoenas, maybe even legislations to shield CDC leadership from political firing and global fallout. Allies no longer trust America's disease reporting. The World Health Organization may bypass the U.S. and partner directly with European or Asian agencies. Public relations already. Trust in vaccine is shaky. If the CDC is seen as political, expect even fewer people lining up for the flu or COVID shots this fall. Picture this. The CDC used to be the nation's medical referee. Now, it's as if the referee was fired mid-game and replaced with a hedge fund manager who says, let's just wait and see what happens. No one wears a helmet in here. We'll be okay. Or imagine calling 911 during a medical emergency, and instead of a doctor, a Silicon Valley angel investor shows up with a PowerPoint on disruptive innovation. That's where we're at, folks. So here's the bottom line. The CDC crisis is about more than one firing. It's about whether America wants public health guided by evidence or by politics. It's about whether the next pandemic response will be scientific or ideological. As we head into fall, one thing is certain. Viruses don't care about politics, but America's ability to fight them sure does. I'm Ali Mehdaoui. Stay healthy, stay skeptical, and remember, when science is under siege, the germs always win. We'll be right back.
In a world of digital noise, your brand deserves a command center. Welcome to ME Studios, where your vision doesn't just get captured, it gets amplified. This isn't just another production space. This is your complete media powerhouse. Our multi-unit facility in New Jersey is engineered for brands that refuse to be overlooked. We transform your voice into professional podcasts streaming on Spotify, Amazon Music, and beyond. Your stories become headlines across 300 plus media outlets, including Fox, ABC. Behind every viral moment is strategy. Our content creation and SEO campaigns don't just chase trends, they create them. From concept to distribution, we build the digital presence others envy. Your brand, your voice, your time to dominate. Visit the mestudios.net and turn potential into impact.
Welcome back, America. I'm Ali Mehdaoui, and this is What's New with ME. At ME Studios, we don't rush breaking news. Why? Well, because in those first hours, facts are foggy, emotions run high, and narratives can be twisted. So the results reporting that misleads, misinforms, or stirs more bias than truth. That's not our way. So instead of racing to push this story out the minute it happened, we gave it 5 days. Time for investigators to gather evidence, for the community to speak, and for the facts to be verified. That way, when we talk about it here, you're not just hearing speculations or knee-jerk politics. You're hearing the most accurate, comprehensive picture available. So tonight, that story is the Minneapolis church shooting. A sacred place turned into a crime scene. 2 young lives lost, dozens injured, and a community reeling. Let's break down what actually happened, the evidence behind it, and the root causes, and the painful but necessary conversation now unfolding across America. During Mass at Annunciation Catholic Church in Minneapolis, Robin Westman, 23, opened fire. By the time it was over, 2 children were dead, 8-year-old Fletcher Merkel and 10-year-old Harper Moisky. 18 others were wounded, including 15 kids and 3 elderly parishioners. Miraculously, doctors say all injured are expected to survive. Westman then turned the gun on herself. Police later confirmed that she carried 116 rounds of ammunition. This wasn't a random act, it was a targeted massacre, and the evidence makes that clear. Investigators uncovered a disturbing manifesto and digital trail. YouTube videos glorifying mass shooters, anti Semitic and anti Catholic slurs, call to unalive Donald Trump, Holocaust references, and violent fantasies. Authorities are treating this as both a hate crime and domestic terrorism. But the picture is complicated. Westman had recently gone through a painful breakup, struggled with gender identity issues, expressed regret about transitioning, and clashed with family over those very same choices. Her father told reporters the breakup sent her into a spiral. Her mother, a school staffer, had begged her to get help. It's like America keeps serving the very same tragic script on repeat. Guns, trauma, manifestos, and politicians rush into the microphone, baby. In the days after, over 600 mourners gathered at vigils. Archbishop Bernard Hebda led prayers, and Governor Tim Walz and Senator Amy Klobuchar stood with families. Even the Pope sent a message of condolence. The community is grieving deeply, but they're also angry. Many are asking, how did someone this unstable get their hands on enough firepower to arm a small platoon? And here's where grief collides with politics. Gun reform advocates called immediately for bans on assault-style weapons, universal background checks, and red flag laws. Conservatives countered with harsher rhetoric, pointing to Westman's trans identity struggles, with some blaming gender ideology rather than the actual gun itself. RFK Jr., now HHS secretary, suggested psychiatric medication may have played a role, a claim that drew fierce backlash from medical professionals who accused him of scapegoating mental health treatment. Cable news pundits went into overdrive. On MSNBC, this was preventable. The system failed these kids. On Fox, this is about a cultural collapse, not the Second Amendment. On CNN, both things can be true. Mental health crisis and gun crisis. Social media hashtag search, hashtag gun reform now, hashtag Minneapolis strong, and hashtag trans identity and violence myth were all over the internet and TikTok specifically. As always, there are scenarios and consequences. If gun reforms gets momentum, and if this tragedy keeps attention, expect Democrats to push against AR-15 and red flag expansion. But with a divided Congress, odds are very slim until another tragedy pushes it back onto the agenda again. Weaponized culture wars is definitely a scenario happening. Expect right-wing media to link Westman's gender identity struggles to broader narratives about social decay. This risks stigmatizing trans people further, even though studies show no correlation between gender identity and violence. Then you have community healing versus community fatigue. Minneapolis still carrying scars from the George Floyd drama and ongoing urban trauma must now endure another defining tragedy. Faith leaders are calling for unity, but divisions may deepen even further. Long-term security shifts. Churches and schools could adopt tighter security, metal detectors, even armed guards, which raises the haunting question: how much of our freedom must we give up to feel safe in places meant for peace, specifically here, the greatest country in the world, right? Imagine explaining America's solutions to another country. Well, we keep having mass shootings, so instead of restricting weapons, we give kids active shooting drills and put more guards in churches. It's like telling someone your house keeps flooding and your fix is buying more mops instead of fixing the actual roof itself. So here's the bottom line. The Minneapolis shooting, unfortunately, is about more than just a disturbed individual. It's about the intersection of hate, guns, identity, and politics. A toxic cocktail we've seen way too many times. The victims deserve more than thoughts and prayers. They deserve answers, accountability, and action, whatever shape that may look. I'm Ali Mehdaoui. Hug your loved ones, stay engaged, and remember, a church should be a sanctuary, not a battlefield. We'll be right back for our final segment.
In a world of digital noise, your brand deserves a command center. Welcome to ME Studios, where your vision doesn't just get captured, it gets amplified. This isn't just another production space. This is your complete media powerhouse. Our multi-unit facility in New Jersey is engineered for brands that refuse to be overlooked. We transform your voice into professional podcasts streaming on Spotify, Amazon Music, and beyond. Your stories become headlines across 300 plus media outlets, including Fox, ABC. Behind every viral moment is strategy. Our content creation and SEO campaigns don't just chase trends, they create them. From concept to distribution, we build the digital presence others envy. Your brand, your voice, your time to dominate. Visit the mestudios.net and turn potential into impact.
Welcome back, America. I'm Ali Mehdaoui, and this is What's New with ME, where even tennis gets the prime time treatment. Our final story for this episode isn't about aces, forehands, or enforced errors. It's about a post-match confrontation that sets social media on fire and dragged tennis into a debate about race, sportsmanship, and respect. Let's break it down. On August 27th, American star Taylor Townsend upset world number 25 Yelena Ostapenko in straight sets, 7-5, 6-1. A great win for Townsend, who's fought hard to be recognized not just for her game, but for her resilience and story. But the drama wasn't in the scoreline, it was at the net. Ostapenko confronted Townsend, accusing her of having no class and no education for not apologizing after a net cord winner. The moment was heated, caught on video, and instantly became a headline. Townsend, however, kept her composure, later saying she was really proud of how she handled it. What looked like a typical courtside spat took on a much heavier tone as fans and players examined the racial undertone. Naomi Osaka called Ostapenko's remarks one of the worst things that you can say to a black tennis player. Coco Gauff echoed support, pointed out the double standards black athletes often face when showing emotion compared to white players. Ostapenko, for her part, denied racism, saying the backlash was unfair and her comments were purely about sportsmanship. But the court of public opinion wasn't buying it. Social media lit up with hashtags like hashtag US Open drama and hashtag Townsend strong and hashtag tennis courtside scandal. The confrontation was everywhere. ESPN, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, X. Clips of exchange went viral with millions of views. Fans debated not just the moment, but the larger culture of tennis. Why are black players so often labeled angry or classless for standing their ground? Why do athletes of color have to show extra composure under attacks just to avoid being vilified? Meanwhile, Townsend was praised for her professionalism, handling a racially charged moment with dignity, with refusing to let the narrative distract from her victory. This is not just a one-off tennis spat. It taps into a broader conversation about systemic racism in sports, the emotional labor of black athletes, and how microaggressions play out on a global stage. We've seen it before. Serena Williams penalized for showing frustrations while male players routinely smash their rackets without the same scrutiny. Townsend's confrontation highlights the double standard still present in elite tennis. You know tennis is in trouble when the headlines aren't about forehands and backhands, but about shades at the net. So as always, consequences, baby. For Townsend, her reputation only grew stronger. She's now seen not just as a player, but as a symbol of resilience and dignity under pressure. For Ostapenko, even if she really didn't mean it racially, the stain may stick. In the internet era, once you trend as a racist undertone, you don't just walk away with a backhand winner. For tennis, governing bodies may face pressure to address racism and sportsmanship double standards more directly. Sponsor 2 will keep a close eye because in 2025, image is everything. So here's the takeaway. The US Open gave us more than tennis. It gave us a front row seat to cultural clash. Taylor Townsend walked away with a win and with dignity. Elena Ostapenko walked away with a loss and a PR nightmare. And the sport of tennis walked away with yet another reminder that the game isn't just about rackets and balls. It's about race, respect, and reality. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what's new with ME. I'm your boy Ali Mehdaoui. Share, subscribe, and remember, sometimes the biggest battles in sports don't happen on the scoreboard, but in the stories that we tell afterwards. I'll see you next time.
In a world of digital noise, your brand deserves a command center. Welcome to ME Studios, where your vision doesn't just get captured, it gets amplified. This isn't just another production space. This is your complete media powerhouse. Our multi-unit facility in New Jersey is engineered for brands that refuse to be overlooked. We transform your voice into professional podcasts streaming on Spotify, Amazon Music, and beyond. Your stories become headlines across 300 plus media outlets, including Fox, ABC. Behind every viral moment is strategy. Our content creation and SEO campaigns don't just chase trends, they create them. From concept to distribution, we build the digital presence others envy. Your brand, your voice, your time to dominate. Visit the mestudios.net and turn potential into impact.